Hey everybody, welcome to the Level Up Leadership Podcast. My name is Mike Delgado.
My name is Patty Guevara.
This podcast is designed to help you get to know the leaders here at Experian and also gain insight into the leadership skills and traits needed to grow our careers.
In this podcast, we'll talk mentorship, career navigation, handling rejection, work-life balance, mental health, diversity and inclusion, and so much more.
A lot of our recordings are done through WebEx, so sometimes the audio quality is not perfect. We apologize. We'll get better in time, but we hope you enjoy the show.
Hi, everyone. We know that times are hard navigating life with something we're not very familiar with at all, the COVID-19 pandemic. A lot of us are making drastic changes to our work and home lives, and we know that this can take a toll physically and mentally. So today's episode will be a short discussion about the ways to cope during this period. We're speaking with Nora Cook, HR Director and Business Partner at Experian. Nora also serves as the Executive Co-Sponsor for Aspire, Experian's mental health and wellness employee resource group. We hope you find useful insights and advice in this episode. Enjoy. Why don't we start with introduction? So Nora, if you can explain what you do at Experian and your role in Aspire to our listeners.
Sure. So I'm Nora Cook. I've been at Experian for about 3 years now. I'm an HR director. I work with two businesses, specifically DA North America and GDA. I used to be with ECS. And I used to work out of Costa Mesa in our headquarters, and I moved to San Francisco about a year and a half ago now. For personal reasons. So I'm remote up here by myself. We had an office here until the month before I moved here. So I now work out of my home office and I travel a bit.
Awesome. How long have you been working from home?
A year and a half, I think, since I've moved to San Francisco.
How was that transition for you?
It was interesting. I thought it would be really easy. I came here and I was like, oh, I'm going to have so much time in the day and I'm going to be able to just like work and get so much done and have free time. And what ended up happening, because I have a global business and a regional business, is I start my global calls at like 6:30, 7 a.m. I get right out of bed and I go to those calls. And then I get a little break. I make my coffee. I do something. And then I go right into finally looking at emails because I had been on calls for the beginning of the morning. Then I'm looking at emails and then I feel like I'm like already behind. So I had to find a way to not feel like I'm already behind by 10 a.m., which took some adjustment.
So has anything changed for you during this time with this pandemic? I know a lot of people are adjusting to working from home, but I know that's something that you've been doing for a while now.
Yeah, so it has. So I work from home. My husband is a farmer and a chef, so he's usually out and about, and he's home now. So we've got myself, him, and we have a friend living with us right now, and she works from home. And then my stepson usually is with his mom on weekdays and with us on the weekends, and we swap schedules. We've got more adults here, and so we do weekdays now. So we're doing homeschool with my 11-year-old son and all working out of our San Francisco apartment.
Full house. Everyone's super busy.
Yeah, exactly.
And how are you feeling during this time? How are you coping with everything?
You know, I'm a little worried. I'm someone who's more on the cautious side right now. Mm-hmm. Shelter in place came a little bit earlier in San Francisco. So I think we had a bit more time to be alarmed earlier. I know I have a lot of family in the Midwest, and there's still some fitness gyms are still open and things like that, but ours all closed over a week ago now. And so I definitely I see the serious side of it. I go to the hospital, actually, and happy news, I found out I'm pregnant 2 weeks ago.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. So that means I'm going to the hospital and being extra cautious and seeing how they're taking care of that. But I'm going for a really happy reason, which, is different from why a lot of people are going in. So I'm trying to channel that happiness and excitement and good news, and really focus on positive things and things I can control. So I'm closing my rings every day on my Apple Watch. You can't see me, but I'm holding up my Apple Watch. I'm on day 23. I started this before and I'm committed. I'm doing virtual yoga. I'm going for walks with my son and my husband. and I'm video chatting constantly with my best friends and family who already lived far away from me. And now we actually are seeing each other more and making a bigger effort. So really just focusing on like what I can control, positive things, allowing myself to like have a moment, turn to my husband and be like, can I talk about my fears for a second? And then we talk about them and then let's move on.
Right. Kind of just like don't dwell on the negative things. I feel like that's my issue right now, is that I'm so invested in keeping up with the news that I start to feel overwhelmed and scared and out of control, because there's nothing I can do to change what's happening with this pandemic, right? Other than stay home. Yeah, it's tough. Do you have tips for people who are working remotely for the first time?
Gosh, this is just what's worked for me. I have to do something before my workday starts. I was talking about how I would just get right into a workday. I mean, it sounds kind of obvious, but like take a shower, go for a walk, make your coffee, like do something that's yours and your time, like you would if you were driving into an office before you start your work calls. That has made a huge difference for me, for my headspace. And it's also made me feel more manageable. Like that feeling of feeling behind from the beginning. I did something today and I wasn't behind when I made my coffee. So like, I'm okay. I'm also a big fan of a dedicated space. So I share my son's bedroom, has a corner where I've carved out my workspace, and we take turns. And now that he's here, we'll like swap, but this is my dedicated space. My computer sits here when I'm not working. My work stuff, all notes sit here. So it's not all over my house. Like my living room is my living room. My bedroom is my bedroom. So it still kind of keeps some semblance of normalcy in my house and doesn't make it all collide too much. And just kind of like I make my own lunch. That's one of the pros we have of working from home. Like you get to like eat yogurt out of your fridge and not have it in a lunchbox that you forgot to put in the fridge and then you can't eat it. And so take advantage of the things that are advantages, like go do a workout class in the middle of the day because you can do a workout class in the middle of the day. And I think a big thing for me has been like chit-chatting with coworkers. Like there's no water cooler talk. You're not walking by and talking. So like find a way to chit-chat. At the beginning of a call, ask them how they're doing, share something about your life, force people to have informal conversations with you. Even if they're in an office and they have plenty of them, like you need it when you're working from home.
Exactly.
Yeah, I miss popping over and just seeing Patty and just chatting with her. I miss that already. What have you found to be some of the dangers of working from home with when you're not separating that work life? What are some of those dangers, those things you're cautious of as you've been doing it for a while?
I think one of the main ones is like just that feeling of feeling frustrated. I don't like feeling like overwhelmed by my workload. I don't like feeling frustrated that I haven't had a break yet for me today. I like to avoid that. I like work to be positive. I like to problem solve. I feel so happy to work for a great company culture like Experian and to be in HR where that's really like what we focus on. So for work to be enjoyable, I need to find ways to like schedule in time that's for me. I think that's the main one. Another one is just like by the end of the day, you're so exhausted if you don't do it. If you don't take a walk in the morning or after lunch, by the end of the day, you don't want to take a walk because like you're just tired of it all. And I think my husband probably gets the brunt of that. By the end of the day, I'm like, I'm not making dinner. You make dinner. I've worked all day.
Yeah. I think that's
not fair.
I think that's the hard thing, especially because Experian is, I think what's really cool about Experian is that we have so many high performers, people that are goal driven, people who work really hard, people who like constantly innovating, testing new things. And at least for me, it's like, it was always nice for me to go into the office, right? And there was that separation when I'm in the office, work hard. And then when I get in the car, now I'm home. And now that I'm just beginning to try to adjust to working from home, I'm running into I'm always thinking about work, like, because the computer is right there.
Right. Yeah. And I think having a dedicated space for your work to be kind of helps because you can like walk in and out of a room. And I'll do that. I'll walk out of this room that I'm in right now and I'll like hear myself take a breath. And I'm like, whew. And I'm like, oh, I needed to breathe. My Apple Watch didn't do that yet. But I guess I did. And it's finding those physical separations from work at home. Otherwise it all becomes the same thing. And like I said, my husband will get the brunt of it, but he'll also he'll hear all about my work. He doesn't need to hear all about my work. We need to talk about other things that matter to us. So it's like finding that way to dedicate time and space to work makes you feel like you have permission to walk away from it in the middle of the day. And at the end of the day, close your computer. Like, I'm satisfied with what I've done. It's as if I'm driving home right now on my commute.
Yeah, I think a big issue a lot of people deal with is that when they're working from home, they kind of feel like they have to compensate and work even harder and work even longer. And I know that's an issue for me is I'm checking my email after hours. I'm trying to log on as often as possible. I was just telling Mike, I totally forgot it was Saturday and I got up to work. And my boyfriend was like, during it's Saturday. It was I lost all concept of time. It's crazy. But I know a lot of people
together.
Yeah, it does. And I know a lot of people are dealing with that, and it's even harder for them because they have families, right? And I know for you, your son is at home, your friend, your husband. So do you have any tips for people who are maybe having to deal with, kind of merging their work life with their home life and then making sure, their family is well taken care of because, they're scared too, but then also getting work done at the same time?
Yeah. I really like having a schedule. So for me, the three of us, we have Outlook. We go in on the beginning of the day, we open our calendar and there's a schedule for us. What I do is I look and I find a break and it's okay, there's time. That's going to be my lunch today, or that's going to be my 15-minute walk. And then I share that with my husband and my son. And I say here's when I can eat lunch. Do you guys want to do it together? Or can we do PE at 11:30 because I can go for a walk. Yeah, and for kids, we have my son's been doing the same thing. So we've got a dry erase board with each day of the week on it. We already had it for I think we used it for groceries. And at the beginning of the day, we have him put in what do you think your schedule should be? What do you want to do? You have to do math and writing and this, but what else? How do you want to do it today? And it gives him some control right now. He's setting that routine, and then we sit down and then, like I said, I'll say well, actually, do you mind if we move lunch? Because then we can eat together. Or you don't seem to have reading here. I know you don't like reading, but when would you like to do it? So I've really found that helps, and journaling helps, reflecting. We do something called Rosebud Thorn at our dinner table. Have you heard of that?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Okay. So at our dinner table where there's no phones, they stay somewhere else. Hope if all goes right. We go around, and Rose is where you talk about the best thing that happened today. So on Friday, I made myself an awesome peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and I had this feeling of being a 10-year-old, and that was my Rose.
I love that.
Yeah, it is. You can still have these sparks of joy even on stressful times. And then Thorn, we talk about what just kind of sucked today. What do you wish didn't happen or made you upset? And I'll talk about something I went for a walk and I pulled my leg and I had to go back early and I didn't get outside again that day. And that really, I found had an effect with me, because if I can't get out, the rest of my day I looked out the window and wished I could be there. And then Bud is whatever you're looking forward to tomorrow. So it helps you kind of visualize and think what could go really well tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to call my mom and talk to her because she told me she'd be free and there's things I've been wanting to catch up with her. So I'm going to make sure I call her no matter what. And that's really helped us get to talk about the day and integrate our family and reflect a little bit for ourselves during this.
I love that. I love part where you ask your son to kind of make his own schedule and give him some sense of control in a very uncontrollable situation.
Yeah.
That's a good tip. Yeah.
Nora, I wanted to ask you about staying connected with your colleagues. And one of the things that I'm having a hard time with is I've always just enjoyed being in the office and be able to just drop by somebody's cube, sit and chat and just kind of do my rounds. And I just enjoy doing that. And just walking up and down the hallway, seeing my friends, seeing colleagues on the way to the kitchen. And now that I don't have that, right now I'm doing a lot of text messaging and some video chats here and there. But I'm just wondering, like, how are you being intentional about keeping in touch with not only your own team, but those even outside your team that you want to keep that communication going?
That's a really good question. And I think that's actually harder for people who work remotely when everyone else is in an office. Like you said, like your way of staying in touch is to walk around. So I find that felt more challenging, to be honest, before we're all working from home. Now there's this this desire to stay connected. So my manager, I'm really lucky. I work for a manager who cares about the human being and then the work. And I think that helps us be better at our work. So she started a group chat with everyone who reports it directly into her or skip level. And we just have like a very informal texting conversation. Every other day, she'll text us and say like, hey, I'm just checking in to see how you're all doing. We're all a lot of us are in different cities. And she'll just be like, how's it going in your city? And I do like a roll call, like, hey, San Francisco, shelter in place for 2 days. Here's how it feels. Besides that, I'm okay. So we have the informal texting. I call my direct reports or like message them on Slack every day and just check in, how was your weekend? Kaylee on my team told me that she put up wallpaper on Sunday, and we're just talk about that. Like, we'll talk about work in a little bit. But besides like texting and making sure to talk like not just about work, I think there's this feeling right now that seems to be going through a lot of the teams, like with my businesses, people want to help each other and people want to know what they can do for you. It's that like service mentality. So I've been feeling that and trying to give that to my businesses as well, which is like, hey, is there anything I can do for you? They come back and then they're like, how about you? How are you doing in all this? Mm-hmm. And it's a really easy way to stay connected right now and not just have bombarded by to-do lists.
Yeah, I love that you're being intentional about talking about things other than work. I think sometimes people feel really guilty about having that water cooler time, but that's actually super important for building relationships, building trust, getting to know people. And
Absolutely.
I think like right now, everyone working virtually, I mean, we're on all these business calls as it is, but I think it's super key what you just said about setting up those little, even 5-minute calls just to catch up with somebody. That's super important right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you find, so, I mean, I was already used to working from home. If it's your first time building this routine, is it harder to kind of get those informal channels set up right now?
Yeah, I think right now I set up a video chat during our lunch hour. So basically every day from 12 to 1, I have a group video chat using the Blue Jean app. So anybody who wants to, it's just there. We can all, it's a random people popping in at different times. And it's just kind of a fun way. And I said, no work talk. It's just
good.
Talk about what you're streaming on Netflix or Hulu. I mean, this is like, we're listening on Spotify. Like, this is the time just to chat, and it's lunchtime.
Yeah.
So you can even make your lunch. So that's kind of a fun thing that we're doing on our team to kind of keep the levity up. But yeah, I think we have to just be intentional about setting up those times.
Yeah. We use Slack too. There's in DA North America, we've got the organization on Slack. We have a channel set up for competitions, and right now we started a workspace competition. Share your workspace. Gosh, I wish I remember who it was off the top of my head, but his workspace was a yoga mat with toilet paper and his MacBook on top of it, looking out a window. And he was like, this is how I'm staying zen. I know I'm prepared. I have what I need. Like, I can relax. And it's so fun. Like, people want to know more about people. Our highest opened click rate for our internal communications emails were the getting to know you email or new joiner emails. So when we'd have like 5 new joiners, we'd send an email. Mm-hmm. And that was the highest click through. People want to know about each other. And I don't think we've historically felt like we needed to find reasons to share more about our personal lives. And I think that's a beautiful thing coming out right now.
Yeah, that's so true because I thought going into this, I'm introverted, so this is going to be the time of my life. This is where I'm going to thrive. And that was so not the case. I was like day one. I was like, oh my God, where are my coworkers? I get to talk to them. Yeah, you didn't get to the point because people start to really come out of their shells and call people they wouldn't call usually, or like want to reach out to the people that they usually wouldn't talk to that often in the office. So yeah, I guess it's like another pro, like you were saying, Nora, when you try to look up pros in this like terrible situation, is that you're making connections you probably might not make in the office.
Right. I mean, I'm talking to you guys.
Right.
I talked to Patty, but this is the first time that, the three of us are chatting. I FaceTimed with Justin Hastings, so that was great. Like, we're all getting more exposure to each other.
Yeah.
So I have a question. So what's interesting to me also about this virtual working space is that like I enjoy very much face-to-face. Like that's why, being in the office, like I enjoy nonverbal communication. Like I get a lot of feedback that way. And so my thing right now, Nora, is like video calls. So like with Patty, I'm always like, let's FaceTime, let's chat. But I know that not everyone wants to FaceTime every day, right? So can you talk about like being sensitive? Like some people might just want to be on the phone and talk, and that's pretty much all they want to do that day. But then sometimes maybe they want to FaceTime. How do you kind of balance between I don't want to ever put someone in an awkward position of like, you need to FaceTime with me. Like, because I'm happy if you just want to email me, that's fine too. But I also want them to know that I love seeing them.
Yeah. Yeah. We've been talking about that for how long have I said I'm remote? A year and a half. Since I went remote, my manager was like, I will be FaceTiming you. Like, I need to see you. I need to talk to you. So with her, we immediately set the schedule like once a week at our like one-on-one, it will be over FaceTime. I might be like in my yoga outfit with my headband on. I might look like really nice because I'm going to happy hour later. Like it doesn't really matter. I might be walking around my house, like doing things while I'm talking to her. And it's just like built a habit, to be honest. And now that we have that habit, it feels normal. And I know that is harder for people. And I've got a team member who I love and we work so well together. And we don't need to be on FaceTime to work well together. But sometimes it is nice to have the video there, especially if there's a group of us. And I've noticed that she'll open her blinds behind her so that she actually looks like a dark shadow. And then she's got the blind. But nice. You can still see kind of like inflections and her hand motions. Right. And I was like, hey, that's so clever. Like, I like that. I see you there. We know you're present. Like, we know you're part of it. But like, you just don't want to be totally visible all the time. And that's okay. So I think honoring people's space. If somebody never wants to get on video, I think that's a bit more challenging. And really, it's just continuing to talk more about like why it's okay for us to be looking whatever way we're looking. Like I don't have makeup on right now. That's okay. I'm at home. And like, you might be sitting on your couch. I'm not judging you if there's a couch in the background. That's fine. We're all in our homes. Homes have couches. And because they'll let you see them in person at the office. So just trying to, I think, help people who are uncomfortable see it as more of a normal thing.
Right. That's really good advice. Do you have any tips for people who might need something a little more than, just taking a walk outside or talking to their family, like a little mental break, I guess? Do you have anything that you really like to do?
So we have employee assistance program, and I didn't share this during my intro, but I'm also a co-sponsor of our Aspire ERG. And one of the things I've loved about being so involved in Aspire is I'm personally learning more about all of our resources out there. With EAP, you can call and you can talk to a counselor over the phone. You can also do in-persons when it's not the current situation. But right now you can do that. And I actually, during all this, I was like, I'm going to try this whole text to counselor thing. So it's called Talkspace, Talk, space. It's an app you can download and it's through EAP. And I immediately started chatting with somebody who's like, "Hey, Nora, how you doing?" And I was like, "I'm good. I just found out I'm pregnant, so I'm excited, but I'm also scared because this is what's going on." And I just started like texting, and she's like, "Okay, you're in a closed space, and we'll continue texting, and then I'll assign you to a counselor." And within 24 hours, I had a counselor, and you just chat when you're ready to chat, and they reply when they're ready to reply. Sometimes it's not immediate, but it's kind of nice because it keeps it ongoing. So for somebody who's looking for something, I have found a good experience with Talkspace. And this isn't the only one out there, and you can go outside of our EAP. What I haven't tried yet is Live for mental health, but we have MD Live, which I don't know if you guys have used for physical health. You just call a doctor, "Hey, this is what is going on." They talk you through it. You don't have to go into urgent care all the time. They have it for mental health and over the phone, and I'm not sure if they have texting, but Experian waived the copay for 90 days. So if you are enrolled in Experian benefits, you have access to MD Live physical and mental health with zero copay for 90 days starting, I think, last week.
Oh, that's awesome.
So those are a bit more extreme resource, or not extreme, but like powerful resources in the moment, right?
That's really, really cool. Sorry, Patty, I was going to say, so I think those are wonderful resources. And I'm glad you shared them because I wasn't even aware of the texting one. Sounds really cool. The Talkspace, that sounds like an amazing resource. But I want to ask you about, as we're all being sensitive to our colleagues, and if we're sensing that someone's going through something hard, what are some ways you suggest to approach that person in a caring way? Not to be intrusive, but just to be able to help, prompt them to make a move towards using one of these tools.
Yeah, I know that can be challenging. Being in HR, there's often times where we're talking to employees where I think we have kind of a different, what is it called? We're allowed to say things maybe because we're in HR, like we talk about resources. But I think this is a good skill for everyone. And what I've kind of stuck with is start by asking people how they're doing. And if they're avoiding talking about that, "I'm good, I'm moving on," or "I'm fine," find a way to ask something more specific. Like, "Hey, did you I know you have shelter in place in your city. Have you been able to go outside?" You haven't been able, how has that felt not being able to go outside? So finding a way to not get a yes or no and not shut the door and just open that conversation. Because really, I don't know about you guys, but I don't like taking resources from people I don't trust. If there's someone I don't want to talk to or I don't trust, you can tell me all day what to do and I'm like, okay, thank you. But if it's somebody who I'm like, okay, Patty cares about me. She's asked me about how I'm doing. I can tell she's been vulnerable back to me and opened up a little bit. So I know this feels real. I should listen to her because she probably genuinely cares. And I think that's something, it's like laying the groundwork before trying to go that extra mile to offer someone support and make sure they know you'll be vulnerable with them so they can be vulnerable with you. You trust them, you care about them. And then kind of asking permission, it sounds like it's really stressful for you in San Francisco. Is it okay? Can I talk to you about some of the resources that I've heard of lately that really helped me? I don't know. They might be helpful to you right now. And asking if you can open that door. And if they shut it down, they shut it down. I think if it's beyond that, if you're really nervous for their mental health and safety, then definitely reaching out to an HR partner or their manager in this type of moment could offer you more support and offer ultimately that person the best opportunity to get the help they need. Whatever that could look like, you don't know, right? But at least we're caring and we're looking out for each other.
And I think that's actually the hard thing sometimes when the leader's checking in on someone on their team. And let's just say that there is trust there and mutual respect, and somebody on the team begins to share something that's painful going on in their lives. And it's one of those situations where that person's not ready to go to HR. They're not ready to talk to a professional, but they just want to share like what's going on with the leader, and the leader's kind of conflicted, like, oh man, this is something that's really heavy. I care about this person. I want them to get help, but I don't want to break their trust by going to, a HR or an outside party. How do you kind of, how should colleagues work in that realm?
Sure. I think that's a really good question. And I think that's something that people often kind of worry, will I be able to make the right choice if I'm in that situation? And I don't know if everyone even knows when they're in that situation. Before I answer, just as a reminder, I'm not in any way a mental health specialist. So really what I go with is that gut feeling and trusting that sometimes your gut can be one of the strongest facts. If your gut is telling you something is wrong, if it's telling you that you fear the safety of a coworker, and if you know that there are resources that could help that person, I think it's admirable to be able to go to your HR partner, a manager, or go to somebody you trust to help you talk to that person, and ensure they have access to the information that would benefit them at that time. Every situation is different, so there's not a recipe for this. And if you are entering it with compassion and I was going to say love. I mean, sometimes there is love behind there in a coworker relationship. We care about each other, but if you're with compassion and delicacy and sensitivity to where the other person's coming from, there is a way to navigate that situation. And sometimes you do just HR partners or even like your spouse at home that you can talk to about it can help you think through how. But we do have good resources at Experian. I've mentioned this before. I love working in HR here because I work in a people function at a company that cares about people. Like we're in it together. How Experian has responded to the COVID crisis just proves that we're in it together. I've never felt more connected, honestly, globally across Experian or with my coworkers as I do right now. And you got to just trust that the best intentions are there.
Right. So we have come up on our 30 minutes here, Nora. Thank you so much for joining us. If you have any last words for our listeners about like maybe coping with all of this or just well wishes, go ahead and take the floor.
I think going back to the very beginning where we talked about thinking about what we can control, there are beautiful things coming out of these crazy circumstances. Mike is having lunch with all of his coworkers. Who knows if they would have lunch with him in person regularly, right? But look at, he's got a party of people. We're learning how to be better at video with each other and getting on FaceTime and being responsive. Where a lot of us are going for walks and doing healthy things. Like remember the things control and the positive things coming out that you want to keep going in your life. I am going to continue closing my rings on my Apple Watch, even after all of this, because I've been inspired during this time. And when it comes to being effective at working from home, be patient with yourself. We are asked to learn how to do something right now that people who work from home full time, it takes them months to figure out. And we're asked to immediately go home and work from home. So not only be patient with your coworkers, but be patient to your own self and allow yourself to figure out what a routine looks like. We're only 1 week into this. So it's okay to kind of like trial and error and throw things out that don't work and keep working on them that are helping you be effective and productive and happy. And just know that you've got a lot of people you work with that care about you right now. So ask them how they're doing. And I'm sure they're going to ask you how you are because we are a people-oriented culture, which is the exact way it should be.
Thank you so much, Nora. I know it's a hard time and we really appreciate your input and your advice. It's been great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nora.
Thank you guys. It's been so fun talking to you.
We hope this episode helps you during this tough time. If you would like more information about ways to cope with this new environment COVID-19 has brought us, we strongly encourage you to visit the CDC or World Health Organization websites. For a full transcription and key takeaways from today's show, please visit ex.pn/levelup and subscribe wherever you consume your podcasts. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and Mike and I sincerely hope you all stay safe and healthy. Until next time.